Okay. Hello. Give a minute or two, just in case anybody else wants to get settled.
Sure.
But hello, good evening.
Hello.
Ready to get civically engaged through learning about civic engagement?
Yay.
Okay, now I'm testing out a feature here. Can you all see the captions by chance or no?
I don't see them.
No. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to try one other time. For those that are on, if you needed captions, just FYI of how to turn that on, you're going to go to More, Language and Speech, and click Show Live Captions, just in case we needed that feature. This webinar is being recorded, so we will be uploading this online into our archives after the fact as well. We'll have some Q&A time during and after the presentation, but I'm going to go ahead and let us kind of get started so we can learn about everything civic engagement. So for starters, hello, my name is Gabriela Trevino. I'm a Director in Alumni Engagement. And I am very, very happy to be supporting the Greater Chicago Alumni Network in this webinar tonight. They thought it was very important to connect our alums with civic engagement on campus, off campus, and see what is happening on campus today and how you can get involved. Because of that, we have a very special guest tonight. This is Katie Stresbeck that is on with us. Katie Stresbeck, or excuse me, Dr. Katie Stresbeck. She worked very hard for that title, so let me make sure I get that correctly. Dr. Katie Stresbeck is a director at the Center of Civic Engagement on campus for us. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Katie. You are our expert today. So let's hear it.
Thank you so much, Gabriela, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I see some faces that I recognize. Hello, Katie Pratt. Thanks for joining us, and hello our other friends who are here with us today. So thank you again, Gabriela, for inviting me. Really grateful to be here, and I invite you all to if you have any questions as I'm going along, you can put your questions in the chat. So I'm the director of the Center for Civic Engagement. Some of you who graduated before 2020 may have known us as the Center for Community Engagement and Service Learning, but we have changed our name to better reflect all of the different types of civic engagement. So for the folks who are joining us, I'd love for you to put in the chat some of the things that you did while you were at ISU in terms of civic engagement or community engagement. I know Jesus was telling me that he participated in an alternative break. Katie has participated in a lot of things too. So if you're at a place where you can chat in, I'd love to hear about some of the things that you all did while you were at ISU. And one of the great things that we know about civic engagement is that students who are civically engaged tend to be civically engaged and involved throughout their lives in engagement. And we also know that being civically engaged helps us create better relationships, and it makes us happier. It's better for our health. There are so many great things to do. Oh, yes, bring it back to normal. That is still what it's called, and I can talk a little bit about how it's changed. Yes, and Katie Pratt did alternative breaks, trick or treat for change, leadership. So lots of wonderful things that I see you all typing into the chat. So thank you for that. So as you all know, civic engagement is a core value at Illinois State University. And we did decide to change the name of the center in 2020 to better reflect all of the different things that civic engagement is. And so basically civic engagement is acting as an informed and engaged and responsible person to make change in your community or in your world. And so a lot of people think about that as volunteering and community service. And that is definitely one very big, important part of civic engagement, but it's not the only part. So we always want to be thinking about doing civic engagement from an equity-based mindset. So we want to think about who are the people that we're working with and what are their goals. So we want to always think about community voice. Oh, and I'm seeing lots of great ways that people are involved still too. That's great. So volunteer coaching, adopt a highway. So that's great. Um, and so some of the things, so these icons here were actually created by a student who is a minor in our civic engagement and responsibility minor, which we actually have an academic minor in civic engagement, which is interdisciplinary. So students can take different classes, and a lot of them are general education, to blend into a minor. And so actually this student was a graphic design minor, and she helped us create these icons of different types of civic engagement. So like I mentioned, service is on there, but we also have other things like advocacy and activism. So students can be learning about different policies. So some of our teacher ed students have been to Springfield to advocate for paid student teaching, things like that. We also have civic learning. So one big new program that we have that we might not have had when you all were here is we have a program called Deliberative Dialogues. And this is a program where we bring together students and sometimes community members to talk about really controversial issues and to learn how to do them in a respectful way. So through this program, we have guides that we take the participants through. And the really cool thing about this program is that it's facilitated by students. So we train our students to lead these difficult dialogues because we really believe that this is the way to make change in our society. Sometimes our students, when they think about civic engagement or political engagement, they think it's a bad thing. They think they perceive it to be people yelling at each other, things like that. Because sometimes when students think about politics, that's not always, unfortunately, a positive connotation in our society, but we really want to change that. So we have helped facilitate thousands of our students have participated in these dialogues. We do them in the introduction to the Thrive classes, which are kind of our introduction to college life classes. And so this program, we've had it going for almost 5 years now, and our results have been really good. Our learning outcomes show that our students are learning to listen to people who have different perspectives, learning to enter into a difficult conversation. So that's just another important type of civic engagement that we have. We also have students who participate in community engaged internships. So if any of you have intern positions in your communities, we'd love to connect with you about that. We have social innovation. So we had students in a sustainability program who helped create and worked with the College of Business to create our new freight farm, which our Office of Sustainability has. So people can make social change through innovation, which is really cool. Or students can learn about philanthropy and they can help raise money for a good cause. And then another thing that our office does is we help get students registered to vote. So we are nonpartisan, but pro-democracy. So we want to teach our students to think about how the system works. And we think the system works best when everyone can participate and when they're informed about the issues, not from a partisan lens, but just from how does democracy work and what are some of the issues that they can vote on? Because we know that some of our students haven't had the chance to vote before, and so we can teach them a lot about that process. So that's just kind of a broad overview of all of these types of civic engagement, and happy to answer any questions as we go along. And some of you may be familiar with some of these programs. We may have had some of these when you were here. Someone mentioned Bring It Back to Normal. That used to be a program where we went into neighbors' neighborhoods and we helped out our neighbors. Unfortunately, during COVID, the model of like reaching out to our neighbors, that kind of went away. But what we do now is we do a big day of service with about 8 to 10 different community partners. And we go and serve in these different community areas. Some of you all mentioned alternative break service trips. So we definitely still do those. We have films and speakers and dialogues, like I mentioned. And I would say maybe that dialogue program is something new since you all were here. And we're very proud of that program and our students who've been part of it. So something new that I'm also really excited about is we now have a class credit option for our alternative breaks trips. So that's really cool. So students can study the social issue and then go on the trip. So the picture that you see here on the right, this was so cool. So we partnered with a multicultural center, and Dr. Monica Overton taught a class on the civil rights movement. And then our AB students got to go to Selma and Birmingham. They got to talk to civil rights leaders who had marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge for freedom. They got to see the Brian Stevenson Museum, which is incredibly moving museum. He has a museum about lynching, which is really moving. And students got to see like firsthand the issues that they had studied. And then the other thing students did is we partnered with the Selma Center for Nonviolence. And so our students got trained in nonviolent facilitation and restorative practices. So our students actually came away with a certificate in restorative practices after participating in the AB trip. And then they also helped out with a food bank in the area. So they combined that learning and service. And Gabriella, later, I'll share the PowerPoint with you. So if anybody later wants to watch the video, we've gone to Living Lands and Waters for a really long time. So we have kind of a cool video, and our students have cleaned up thousands of pounds of trash from the Mississippi River. And we have some students who've been on this trip like 2 or 3 times. You would think that picking up trash all day wouldn't be that much fun, but on an AB trip, it is. And the things that students pull out of the water, it's incredible. See, hopefully, saw some people typing in, but I haven't seen the questions. So feel free to interrupt me at any time. So these are some of the trips that we have been taking lately, and that we're going to take in the future. We just had some students come back from Kenya. As people were joining in, I was saying that I would love to do an alumni AB trip in the future. We have done one unofficial one to Costa Rica, but it would be really great to be able to go back and continue to serve. And one really important thing about these trips is if you haven't gone on them, they are alcohol and drug free, and they're led by students. And our research shows that students who participate in these as leaders, they go on to do really important civic engagement work later in their careers. So I can see Jesus is here. He's done AB. I know Katie Pratt has done AB. So it's just like really gratifying for me to talk to alumni who have served in different capacities while at ISU, and you're continuing to pay it forward to your community, and just to see kind of the transformative power of participating in an AB trip. And we are very grateful to our alumni because we've had a lot of alum donate so that we can give accessible trips, so that we do have a scholarship to help pay for students who want to go on these trips, just to make sure that they're affordable and that cost isn't a barrier to our students. So we're really, really grateful for that. I mentioned that we also have a minor in civic engagement and social change. We did just change that name a little bit. It used to be the minor in civic engagement and responsibility. And our students told us that they are really interested in that social change aspect. So we changed that. One really cool thing about that is students get to do a civically engaged internship at the end. And then we have a special concentration for teacher education majors. So that's really cool because we know that civic engagement is such an important part of being a teacher. And so I just had the joy of working with 2 future teachers and hearing about how they're going to integrate civic engagement into their classroom, even things as simple as like the classroom as a community. Like, how do we create community in our classroom? And even having our students have little jobs and ways to help and things like that. So it's just really great that we have that as well. And then I mentioned before that we do help teach our students about the democratic process, which I think is more important than ever in our polarized society. We really try to depolarize things and say that democracy does not have to be polarizing, and that it is okay to disagree with people. That's also part of the democratic process, but we can do it respectfully and we can ask questions and we can listen to other people's perspectives. So something that's a great joy to me is seeing first-time voters. You can see that we have a selfie station for our voters. We try to make voting fun and celebrate it. This QR code is a code to our Redbird voter guide. So we create a voter guide each year to help students learn what's on the ballot. Because a lot of times people only think of the top of the ballot, but all of those roles are really important. We always talk a lot about local issues too, and judges, because in a lot of places people vote on judges. So we just really try to teach our students how to analyze the ballot. And we put out a video about what voting looks like, because we've had one of our political science professors did a study on student voting. And she actually found that there's a lot of anxiety. Students are, if they've never done it before or seen anyone do it. And so we actually have greeter tables also during the election, where we just greet people when they come in. We help our students get the proper identification they need. So if they're registering that day, that they know exactly what they need to do. And so we really just love doing that and trying to really bring some joy to politics instead of making it stressful and depolarizing. And we've been grateful to have a lot of student interns over the year who've done just a really great job. I'm also really, really excited to tell you that we just got a new Gen Ed passed. So the general education classes are the classes that all of our students have to take to become a well-rounded, well-educated person. And as part of that, there is a new credit requirement. Yes, thanks, Katie. I'm super excited about this, in civic engagement and experiential learning. Because we know when people do real world activities, it makes a huge impact on them. It makes them more likely to graduate. It helps them in their future careers. It actually leads to higher earnings, helps them make friends. And so I'm very excited about this. And I was on that committee. And so it will be really neat to see that civic engagement and experiential learning, it won't be just something students get to do if they're in a certain club or if they're an honor student. It will be something that is organic to the ISU experience that all of our students get to do. So very excited about that. These are just some other things that we have coming up. We do a little scavenger hunt through Uptown, so students get to know about that. We do a service project during preview where we have our preview families stuff backpacks for the Back to School Alliance. And we've stuffed hundreds of backpacks over the summer that go to our local school kids. So that's always really fun. Opportunities like how alumni can become involved. If you all would like to speak to one of our classes, we would love to Zoom you in or have you visit. I've done that before for our capstone students. We had someone who I believe worked for, I think it was for a diabetes foundation. I can't remember. And she came and talked about how she used her advocacy skills to get better access to care for the people in that organization. So that was really interesting for our students to learn about that. If you have an internship, we would love for you to help host an intern. We've also had some of our alumni host AB students for a dinner when our students were in their community. So that's a really cool opportunity. Or like I said before, some people wanted to pass it on and help sponsor a student to attend a trip. We also have campus community dialogues. And so that's a great opportunity to come in and talk about an issue with students. We actually did a campus community dialogue on Social Security where we partnered with the AARP and we had some alumni come. And you might think that's an issue that students wouldn't be interested in, but they were interested, especially if they understand that if policies don't change, we might not have Social Security when our students graduate, or everyone has like an elder in their family or someone they know who might be receiving Social Security. So that was like this great intergenerational conversation. I actually heard a community member tell one of the students, like, if nobody has somewhere to go for the November Thanksgiving break, you can come eat at my house. It was like so very sweet to hear those conversations. Other things that you can do, our career services has so many great ways to become involved. We love help to do mock interviews with students. That's another great way that you can become involved. And if you want to reach out to us, I'll share our contact information at the end, but we have a general forum on our website. that has a lot of different things, ways that you can become involved and reach out to us. Um, and then I also want to let you know about our Redbird Impact Days. I think maybe, I don't know, Danny or Joe or others will be sharing about this as well. But you can register to help in Chicago. And then we also have our Redbird Impact Day here on June 14th. That is super fun. We have a luncheon and then we have some volunteer activities after that. A lot of times we have a student, there who can talk about their experiences. And that's just always great. And if you can't join us for that, you can log your volunteer hours. We love to see our collective impact. It's really cool to see all the things that people are doing. And this is just another way that you can log your hours here. And so I can share that later as well. And then this is just the ways that you all can contact us. So, and if you're not familiar with where we are on campus, since we are fairly new, we are on North and Fell, right across from Watterson and CVS. So you can always stop by and see us, or we love it if you follow us on Facebook or any of these other platforms. So, but I will stop there so people can ask any questions. I'm glad to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Katie. If I can be so bold to speak as a Redbird, this is so fantastic to hear. Everything you said, the intention of why some of the changes were made and hearing out students and what students want and are looking for, you know how it says right here, proud Redbird alum. That's all. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and ask a quick question before I get into some ones in the Q&A. So I hear from alums all the time asking, they want to connect with students, they want to speak in classrooms. So if they're wanting to speak in a civic engagement class, is it this email, this online form you're talking about? What's the best way for them to get connected to that?
Yes, they can definitely go to our website and they can fill out the online form. Or they could just email civicengagement@illinoisstate.edu, and they could let us know a little bit about their background and where they'd hope to be connected. And then we can connect them directly to a faculty member, or we might be able to link them up and be on a panel. But we love our alumni who are willing to share their time and talents. It's great for students.
Okay, so one of our first questions here is, what are partnerships like with student-run groups on campus, i.e. Pride Group, Black Student Union, and how can they best use these resources?
Okay, yeah, that's great. So we love to partner with our affinity groups on campus. And so we have had several members of the Black Student Union participate as AV leaders. And we actually have a kind of a newer position in our office. So those of you who knew Annie Weaver when she was initially in the position, her position was as a coordinator, and we changed that position to be an assistant director of co-curricular programs. So part of the role of that position is to connect directly with groups like the Black Student Union and Pride and other RSOs. And so we have a really good relationship with the Multicultural Center and with the groups that they run. And I'm really pleased that I was invited to be on the President's Diversity and Inclusion committee. And part of what we do is we just try to listen to lots of different student voices, and as well as just kind of uplift that core value of civic engagement and think about how we can, listen to student concerns and then also bring students together. So the Dean of Students Office also has a Student Leadership Council, which includes representatives from different athletic organizations, sororities and fraternities, Pride, Black Student Union, ALAS, some of the affinity groups. And then we also try to connect with some of our employee affinity groups like OLE and Black Employee Association and things like that. So we're really interested in making those connections, and Bring It Back to Normal has been a great opportunity for that. So we asked for student leaders from some of those organizations. And then the other thing that we do is our deliberative dialogue program. We can partner with a club to help them to run a dialogue. And then when we do voter engagement, if we have a student group like Black Student Union or Pride, and they want to help with voter registration, we can help train them how to do that so that they have the tools and, you know, that they can use that leadership in their own organization too. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. Another question is there a way ISU helps connect students to civic engagement opportunities beyond campus?
Yes, so that's a great question. So there is a part on our website that talks about like statewide opportunities. And so there's lots of organizations across the state where students can volunteer. And then we also have a student inventory form where students can fill out exactly what they're interested in, and then we can match them with an organization. So we also have, we also partner with the Peace Corps Prep program and the Stevenson Center for Community and Economic Development. And so we have links to, you know, Redbirds who have served in the Peace Corps around the world. And so we sometimes have connections to global organizations as well. And then we also sometimes partner with the Office of International Engagement so we can connect students with, you know, global partnerships and things like that. So yeah, that's a great question. And we have some national organizations that our students have been part of too. So some of our students have done virtual internships in Chicago or lots of other places. We even had a student do an internship in Taiwan recently. And so lots of things.
Interesting. This next question, has there been official follow-up with previous students who participated in these programs to see what fields they work in, if they continued volunteering, etc.?
Great question. Yes. So, so Annie Weaver, who used to work in our office, actually wrote her dissertation on like some of the impact of alternative breaks. And I think her participants were from colleges from all over, not just from ISU. But that research showed that those students do tend to be more engaged after college. You know, they are more likely to be civically engaged in their communities, more likely to vote. And so I think it is important to continue to follow up with our students on that. I've only been here since 2020, so I haven't done much longitudinal work directly on our own Redbirds, but we do know that studies show nationally that students who participate in civic engagement do tend to be much more engaged later in life. Also, doing a community engaged internship really helps students in their future careers. So they tend to feel a greater sense of belonging. They also often tend to find more mentors, and they even make more money, some studies show, because they often know it's like they already have made connections early on as a student. And so they know how to build on those connections, and they have people that they can reach out to. And it also affects wellness. So one of the things that we know about aging well, it's not all about what we eat and how we exercise, it's about friendships. And I really think that being civically engaged, it helps us make some of our best friends. I often hear people will say, like, I met my best friend on an AB trip, or one of my friends just went to a wedding, and the people getting married had met on an AB trip. And so I think like we can really make some really long-term connections. And then I also think it's about self-reflection, so learning about ourselves. So we always try to tell our students when they make their resume, don't forget about all those co-curricular things that you did. Because sometimes people they just do it because it's part of what they do, which is great. But we always say that's skills. You have a lot of skills there. Like, you're a leader. You know how to lead a difficult conversation. You know how to organize a project. You have marketing skills from that, you know, all these things. So yeah, it's a great question. And I think we will be continuing to do more research on that in the future in terms of longitudinal impact. So
yeah, great question. Thank you. Another one here. This one says, I'm fascinated by the deliberative, sorry, I'm tripping over my words, deliberative dialogue program. Has the program been pretty receptive given the climate of our world these days?
Yes. So, I mean, I think this program is more important than ever given the climate of our world. And when we started doing the dialogues in 2020, that was a really hard time for a lot of us. And, we had the pandemic, we had, national incidents of violence in communities and racial violence and things like that. And so the deliberative dialogue program really allowed us to discuss some very difficult issues. Like one of the issue guides is like, how do we stop violence in communities? And it brought up a lot of really great discussions. And what I love about dialogue is that it starts out by asking everyone to share their personal stake. And we can really never know what it's like to sit in somebody else's shoes until we listen to them. And then we can develop greater understanding because sometimes we can make judgments about people without knowing them. And so what I love about dialogues is that oftentimes when we go into a classroom, the instructors will tell us later, like, students just started opening up to each other after that because they didn't realize somebody had a story. Or we also ask them, like, you don't have to agree with someone to listen to their perspective. And the idea of dialogue is not to change people's ideas, it's to learn to listen to multiple perspectives. And then hopefully by doing that, we'll develop these better public problem solving skills. But we do train our facilitators for what to do if, someone's trying to dominate the conversation, like how to handle that. And we don't want anyone to feel tokenized or, somebody from an underrepresented background feel like they have to be the one to speak up for their community. And so we actually did research on this recently. We wanted to know what the impact of dialogue was and to think about people's different identities and how those showed up when participating in a dialogue. And what we found was that students from minoritized backgrounds did not report feeling tokenized. They reported feeling like people heard their ideas. And we also heard that white men also felt like they learned from the experience. So nobody was feeling like, oh, like your people are to blame for this or, this kind of thing. It was like students from multiple different identities were participating in these conversations, feeling like they learned from the experience and like other people were listening to their ideas. That was really important to us because we also didn't want to, because that's one of the critiques of dialogues is that maybe people who are most affected by certain social issues might not feel comfortable. But fortunately, we found that that wasn't the case. So we're really glad because that's what we were hoping for. But it's a great question. So thank you for that.
Great. Thank you. Another question that's coming from me, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I believe when you showed that graphic towards the beginning of your presentation,
Yeah.
there was one of the icons said fundraising philanthropy.
Yes, I'll go back to
Prior
that.
to my time at ISU, I was in nonprofits. I'm just curious,
Awesome.
what kind of fundraising and philanthropy how are you teaching that to students? I think because I feel like that's maybe the language you might have used is we're teaching them philanthropy and fundraising, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah. So that's definitely one of the things that we talk about in our IDS classes or Introduction to Civic Engagement. And so one of the things we talk about is like, I think one really important thing is if you're a student group and you're going to be fundraising for an organization or raising goods or services, to really talk to them about what they need so that you understand what the community voice is. So you want to be making sure that the items you're giving them. So if you're working with a food bank, they may actually tell you, "Hey, it's actually better to give us cash because we can get better. We can get more food than if you are just giving us cans." Or they might say, "Hey, no more green beans, please." We often hear that from the school street food pantry. Or they might say, actually, we really need pots and pans because our students need to be able to cook the macaroni and cheese. So we talk about that. We also talk about if students have a cause, but they don't know who to raise funds for, that they can use like Charity Navigator. So we want to be teaching them, like, be sure the organization that you're raising money for, that they're actually giving money to the cause. Like there's not like a really high overhead. So look at their rating, look at, where the money is actually going. And then we talk about, so we actually have a grant that students can use for philanthropy. So if they need help to like rent a room or purchase some items to do the fundraising, we can help them do that. And so we can also teach them. So by filling out that grant, we're also kind of helping them learn that skill of grant writing. So where they can really give like a simple but meaningful explanation of the cause. And so that's something we do. And then students are also like philanthropy ambassadors for Birds Give Back. So we often have our students who participated in alternative breaks or deliberative dialogues. You all may have seen some of their videos where they talk about the great experiences that they have. And we just love our students to share their stories, because by doing that, like if they had a good experience, they can help another student have that great experience. And so that's, we tell our students, like, you don't necessarily have to have money to be a philanthropist. You can still, tell your story in a compelling way and, help raise funds in that way. So I really think, and then we also have community organizations that we're connected to, where our students might have the opportunity to choose who else gets a grant. So that also just helps them develop that skill of looking at like, what is a good project and that kind of thing. And so that's just, yeah, so I'm glad you asked that question, but we hope to help them become like informed and responsible philanthropists. So
Wonderful. Again, a different lifetime, but as a former nonprofit professional, you spoke my language through all of that. So
yeah,
that's so wonderful to hear that you're teaching the students that.
yeah.
As far as I'm thinking, I think that might be, let me do one last check through, but I think that might be all of our questions. I think so. Well, thank you so much, Katie. As I feel like I'm a little bit of a broken record, this has been incredibly informative. I can see, the smiles on the faces, the exclamation points in the chat, learning what is happening on campus, and the way that you all are supporting your students is just fantastic. So thank you so much for spending time to share with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and thanks for joining us. And definitely, please feel free to reach out to us. And Gabriella, you had this presentation, so please feel free to share it with anyone who might want it. And then I just put our contact information at the end, so definitely feel free to share with your fellow alumni and let them know they can reach out to us. And thank you again. And I know many of you on this call are such great supporters. Katie, I always see the volunteering you're doing out at the Chicago Marathon, and I know you're connected here with our Crossroads Fair Trade Store. So thank you so much for all that all of you do. You are making an impact everywhere, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Before, please don't hop off, everybody. We are going to turn it over to our Greater Chicago Alumni Network leaders really fast. I know that Katie talked about it a little bit in her presentation too, but we do have some things going on in the Chicago area, ways to continue to make a Redbird impact, as we call it, up here in Chicago, actually as soon as this Saturday. So I'm going to pass it on to our lovely leaders, Danny Brink and Joe Koza, if you guys would go ahead and take it from here.
Great. Thank you so much, Gabriella. We are very excited for, I think, our first really official event as the Greater Chicago Network, since we are launch event, to be contributing to Redbird Impact just this week, and certainly inspired by so many of the words that we just heard about the importance of being in our communities and really helping out. So it's an event that we've done for the past few years, and we really like. It's at Miller Meadows Forest Preserve this Saturday at 9 a.m. Miller Meadows, for those that aren't familiar, is right at the intersection of First Avenue and Roosevelt, so pretty close in the suburbs. We spend 2 hours getting to know each other, cleaning the park, making it more accessible and ready for a great summer for all the visitors there. And then we all go just down the street to the Tamale Hut and have a great lunch together. So it's a really great combination of of starting Redbird Impact Month, volunteering together, getting to know each other as Redbirds, and celebrating over some tamales, our Redbird bond. So definitely excited for this Saturday at Miller Meadows and at the Tamale Hut. And Danny, I think you're going to walk through some other events we have later on in the summer.
I would be happy to. Thank you all very much for joining us, and thank you again, Katie, for your awesome presentation. That was great to hear. Is everyone seeing the screen that I'm sharing? Everyone seeing that okay? All right. So just to kind of share a couple other events. So as Joe mentioned, the event this weekend on June 7th, but then we also have a couple other events we wanted to highlight. We have our third annual Chicago Dogs game. So they have been very well attended and just a lot of fun. A local, local ballpark that's easy to get to, lots of parking, not an overly expensive outing. So that's going to be on August 23rd, and it's located in Rosemont, just right off the highway. So again, kind of easy to get to, a fun event. There's going to be food. You get a little giveaway hat, and then we also this year are going to have access to some practice batting cages. So if you want to try your hand at that, we'd love to have you out there. And then just want to highlight one other event coming up this fall, September 27th. We're going to be hosting an event that we're calling Redbird Roundup. So really it's kind of just featuring different aspects of ISU that make ISU unique and bringing them to the Chicago area. Actually, we did land on a location. We are going to actually be in Chicago, but again, not a difficult part of Chicago to get to, lots of parking. But we're excited to have that, so we're working out the details. But it should be a lot of fun for alumni of all ages and their families. It's going to be kind of a family-friendly event. So for adults and kids, we'll have some just fun things to do that are ISU related. And then I'm going to stop sharing and share one other item that I just wanted to pull up here. Let's see if I can get it here. All right, are you guys seeing a different flyer now? Perfect. Okay. So just wanted to share, if you're interested, we have a very brief survey just to get some feedback that helps us plan our events, kind of what events you're interested in as alumni, and then just how to get involved through our Facebook page and some other opportunities. So the link there just is how to connect with us if you want to get more involved with the Greater Chicago Alumni Network. We would absolutely love to have you at any of our events, any of our meetings, or get involved at any way and any level that you would like to. So we are always available to answer any questions if you have questions about getting involved or how you can help with the group or other ways to help ISU. So we'll be happy to share this flyer with you. Everyone who's on this presentation, we'd be happy to share this with you. But please feel free to scan the QR code, click on the links, and get more involved. So thank you all very much for being here.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Lots of wonderful information, ways for Redbirds to get together. As we've said a few times on this call, I'll make sure that the PowerPoint gets out, links to these events and some additional information so that we can stay connected after the fact. Trying to make sure if this is a question here or not. I understand. Oh, yay, yes, Redbird Roundup. We're very excited about it. Think ISU food, think Reggie Redbird, think virtual tours of campus, think civic engagement. We're trying to bring ISU to Chicago is how we're putting it. So very excited about that. But I appreciate you all coming on tonight. It's been such a pleasure. Again, everything will go out, and this recording will also be available after the fact as well. If you wanted to come back and do a rewatch or share with other Redbirds, it will live in perpetuity, I think, as they say. But otherwise, thank you all so much, and I hope everyone has a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Bye.
All right.